Steve Freeman podcast. It is good to be here with you. Pre-recorded this episode, of course, as I always do. I'm currently on my way back to Nashville and looking forward to getting home. It was a great week out in LA. Thank you for being here for this episode. And as always, this episode is brought to you by my friends at Performance Inspired Nutrition, pi-nutrition.com. Remember, when you buy anything, that you should be entering the code STEVE at checkout to get 10% off your order. Now, whether you want to do the whey protein shakes like I do, you want to take the diet and energy capsules every morning that speed up your metabolism without giving you that, heart rush feeling, you can do that. What the shakes will do, though, is keep you feeling full all day. They're going to give your body the supplements, the ingredients, and the all-natural ingredients that your body needs to keep you burning fat, to keep you feeling full, so that you don't run to the pantry and are tempted to pick up that bag of potato chips or whatever else. You're not going to want it. You're going to feel great. You're going to have energy all day long. I highly suggest you check it out. I've been getting emails from you guys that have used the code and have gone and have gotten the multivitamins or gotten the whey protein shakes or have gotten the beauty and collagen support. And I've been hearing some great things. So that means everything. And I know Performance Inspired appreciates it. And so I'm glad you guys are saving some money and, more importantly, taking an active part in having and living a more healthy lifestyle. I know we can all do that. Go check out the all natural products at Performance Inspired Nutrition, the new company from Mark Wahlberg and Tom Dowd. I promise you will not be disappointed, and you'll feel better than you felt in a long time. That I can promise, because I'm living proof. Go to pi-nutrition.com and enter code STEVE at checkout and save 10%. Plus, they're running free shipping on a lot of stuff right now. So be sure and head over and check it out. We are also brought to you by the Artist Development Academy. Do you want the access, the information, and the guidance that you need to really get your career in the music business off and running? And I'm talking about real approach. I'm talking about doing real things that are within your power, grassroots way of growing your music, making money with your music, writing better songs, learning how to be a better producer, how to use gear, all of that. It's all included at the artistdevelopmentacademy.com. Your all access membership right now, you can save 30% by entering code STEVE at checkout. And I highly recommend that you do so. I would love to have you guys go over and become members, especially when you get a chance to save the 30% off. I mean, you just can't hardly beat it. So go over to artistdevelopmentacademy.com and enter code STEVE at checkout, and you will save 30% off your all access membership. You'll get immediate access to all of our online courses. Plus, you'll get a brand new course every single month. And you'll get access to the members-only forum. You'll get access to our members-only live stream events so that you can connect with us and we can work with you one-on-one to get your career headed and moving in the right direction, which is the whole point, right? Because if you're not, why are you even doing it in the first place? So head over to artistdevelopmentacademy.com and enter code STEVE at checkout. Get 30% off. If you'd like to find out kind of like what it's really like and take it for a test drive, go to my website, thestevefreeman.com, and sign up for my free artist development masterclass, and you'll get an introduction to just everything you're going to get when you become an all-access member at the Artist Development Academy. Head over to artistdevelopmentacademy.com and enter code STEVE at checkout. Get 30% off your all-access membership, and I look forward to seeing you there. Well, I'm sure they really appreciate their names being publicized and put in the news. But what we're going to talk about today are artists like Luke Combs, Chris Stapleton, the Eagles, Pearl Jam, Guns N' Roses, and a lot of other clothing brands, entertainers, musicians, getting big-time bailouts under the Paycheck Forgiveness Program. Their names were publicly posted and the amounts that they received. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you my thoughts on what I think about it in today's episode of the Steve Freeman Podcast.
You're listening to the Steve Freeman Podcast, the real, raw truth about the pursuit of success in music, business, and life. Here's your host, hit songwriter, multi-platinum selling producer, and serial entrepreneur, Steve Freeman.
So a ton of artists because of what we're going through with COVID-19, are in financial distress. Now, there's a way of thinking that a lot of people think that these musicians, these artists, these bands, that they've just got endless supplies of money and endless, checkbooks that they can just survive forever. And in some case, that's absolutely the truth. But one thing that we've seen that's gone on with COVID-19 and this virus, and a lot of people having to shut their businesses down and people losing their jobs. One of the things you have to realize is when you get to a point as an artist where you're at the status of an Imagine Dragons or Weezer, Chainsmokers, Chris Stapleton, Green Day, Tool, Nickelback, the Eagles. These are big businesses. This is no different than any other business. They have employees to pay. They have crew. They have staff. They have publicists. They have all of these people that work for their corporation. And no different than any other major corporation when COVID hit, they had to lay off people. They could not, because they're not out touring and they're not able to work, they are in fact losing money, and they cannot keep their full-time staff working for them round the clock. Like I said, especially when there are no gigs to go play, there's no way to earn that revenue, to keep the ball rolling, I guess, if you will. So many of these artists applied through the PPP loan program through the government. And some of them received a couple of $1,000 to $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Some of them received $10,000. Some of them, and most of them, received between $150,000 and $350,000. Over 660,000 recipients were granted a loan of more than $150,000. Some of these loans even went up to $1 million. That's a lot of money. We still don't know when touring is going to pick back up. We have no clue, no idea when we're going to get back to business as usual. So if you're, a Guns N' Roses, if you're an Eagles, Pearl Jam, Tim McGraw, Luke Combs, Chris Stapleton, the list goes on. Tool, Nickelback, Imagine Dragons, Incubus, Slipknot, My Chemical Romance, Wilco, Bon Iver, I guess, however you want to say it. Guy Clark Jr., Papa Roach, Ryan Tedder, Wiz Khalifa, French Montana, Lil Jon, Rascal Flatts, Kip Moore, Jason Isbell. They all took money under the PPP loan program. A lot of these artists and a lot of these acts, the reason that they took these loans to begin with was so that they could ensure that their crew gets paid, because the crew is not participating in publishing royalties. The crew is not participating in record sales or in merch sales or in ticket sales or any other form of revenue that band or artist may generate. They solely make their money when the artist is out on the road. Well, if the artist in this case, due to COVID, is not able to be out on the road, then they're not able to continue to pay those crew members. Now, I know a lot of you are out there and you're sitting there and you're thinking, and look, I'm going to be 100% honest with you, and I'm going to tell you I've thought the exact same thing. These people have plenty of money to continue to pay their people just because COVID happened. And I would say in 75 to 80% of the cases, it is the truth. Imagine Dragons has the money because of the money they've made to continue to pay their crew. Some of the smaller bands probably don't, but I've heard stories and know personally that like Keith Urban, Garth Brooks, I know they have paid their band and their crew at times when they've had to cancel shows or cancel tours, or in Garth's case, just took off for 15 years. I know that he kept paying his band and his crew. Now, not everybody's at the revenue level that a Garth Brooks is. And believe me, I get it and I understand it. But many of these bands that took the PPP loan money, it sounds funny saying that. I don't know, it sounds gross almost, but they have rent to pay. They have bills to pay. And the way that they normally pay those bills is by going out and playing shows. They have caretakers. A lot of them have kids. They have daycare. They have a lot of people that work for them. They have, attorneys and accountants and business managers that, continue to have to work on their behalf on a day-to-day basis, regardless of the fact that no money is coming in. So I'm not going to fault any one of these artists for taking the money. Where I start to have a little bit of a problem is you start to see some names of bands and artists on this list that have the money. You have artists like Kanye West, who took they're reporting between $3 and $5 million for his Yeezy clothing brand. Whenever just 6 months ago, Kanye is bragging about being a billionaire. And to me, it's like, okay, well, if you're a billionaire, then couldn't you personally fund your business and pay your employees during the time that all this is going on? Even if it was going to cost $15 million, if you were a billionaire, what is $15 million to you to continue to provide for your employees and their families during this difficult time instead of taking free money from the government? And there's a lot of people out there that are going to say, well, why not? It's free money. Take the free money from the government. That's a whole other conversation. And politically, I don't think that's one that we're going to get into on this podcast. But and I know for me, I know for me that being in that situation, if I had the money to pay, I don't know that I would take the money from the government, because there are a lot of other small companies that didn't receive money or didn't hardly receive any money at all that needed it. You know, the mom and pop shops, the small, if we want to stick with the entertainment business, you know, you've got small publishing companies, you've got small record labels, you've got small booking agencies, small publicity firms, small management companies with 2 or 3 or 4 employees that have not been afforded the ability to stay in business or be able to retain their employees because they were getting nothing. They weren't getting anything. Huge companies like Chase Bank have come under heavy scrutiny because they ended up working on behalf of and making sure that a lot of their larger clients that were already multimillionaires and billionaires, making sure that they received the funds instead of some of the smaller businesses. Robert De Niro is a part owner in a restaurant out here called Nobu. I think they got $5 million. And meanwhile, you've got other small businesses that are being forced to close their doors, being forced to fire employees because they didn't have access to the money. There's 2 sides of this coin, and it gets to a point where you can understand it and then you really can't understand it. I can look at names on this list of people that took PPP money that didn't have to take the money to continue to pay their crew now they had to take the money to continue to pay their crew, and that money that they're paying their crew not come out of their pocket. And that's where we get into almost at times what we say are the worst about our country is that we are not willing to help our fellow man. Now, we're more than willing to help out whenever we can, as long as it doesn't come at a cost or premium to us. If we can just pass that along to somebody else, we're more than happy to keep our employees as long as the government's paying them. But if the money we're going to have to come out of our pocket, that is all of a sudden when we have an issue. And, you know, that's a global thing. It's a bigger thing that we've talked about more than once on this podcast is, you know, having that ability to do things yourself and working for yourself and not counting on other people. And one of the things that the virus has done has limited our worldview almost to a point to where we see what things in life and what things in our business are truly necessities. You know, one could argue that right now is a great time to be in the entertainment business. So the last podcast we put up was all about being a content creator and forgetting the monikers and the boxes of songwriter, producer, engineer, artist, and considering yourself a content creator. If you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to it. I think it's called How to Survive the Death of the Music Business. Go back and listen to it. But you can see right here by this list of people that there are some on this list that obviously needed the money. There are a lot on this list that did not need the money in order for them to make it through the pandemic, in order for them to continue to pay staff, continue to pay crew members. It's a little steep. Even in the United Kingdom, they announced a $2 billion bailout for artist-related business. Concert venues, relief for live music-related venues. All over the world, this is an issue. It's not just an issue here. A lot of touring companies received PPP money. Like for the Eagles, let's look at the Eagles, for example. The money that the Eagles got is helping them to retain 50 jobs. That's a lot. I mean, the 50 people, that one band employs 50 people, and they took the money to be able to continue to pay those people. Now, there's other people on the other side of the argument. They're going to say, well, how much are you paying these 50 people? So it's very difficult to take a stance, one side or the other on this, because I also know some people that applied and didn't get it that severely needed it in order to pay their employees. They didn't get it. But yet some of the larger businesses that could have afforded it anyway were taking free money from the government. We're rolling and getting into the point now where a lot of these loans have to be repaid. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I know, and I'm not going to name the names. You can go research it if you want. They've already found that one entertainment company in Nashville took a very large PPP loan and got the money and then filed bankruptcy, which is just fraud. There's no other way around it. I mean, if you were that close to bankruptcy and you took this money, then you knew the financial state that you were in. There's not going to be anything you can do to avoid it. And you just got free money from the government that could have gone somewhere else to really help somebody through all of this. They really needed it to pay their family, for their family to put food on the table, to allow them to keep employees that go out and do the hard work that help you maintain your business and keep it going. So, like I said, there's a lot of names on this list: the Eagles, Pearl Jam, Guns N' Roses, Green Day, Tool, Nickelback, Imagine Dragons, Weezer, Chainsmokers. Chris Stapleton is on the list. Rascal Flatts is on the list. Luke Combs, Kip Moore, Jason Isbell. I just hope that the people that did receive this money are using it properly. That's my main thing. That's my main concern, is that if they needed this money to keep their employees and make sure they could provide for their families, then I'm all for it. It's really the ones that didn't and that just wanted the free money so that it didn't come out of their pocket. Those are the ones that I'm going to have a serious issue with. The other side of this coin is, where do we go from here? From the sounds of some of these amounts, this money should last these artists for a little while, especially if you go back and you look at what their ticket sales are and what kind of money they generated last year versus the amount of the loans that they're getting now. But where do we go from here? There is no sign whatsoever of getting anywhere back to normal. And it wouldn't surprise me at this point right now that if we don't see sporting events, we don't see live concerts in 2021 at all. Nashville got kicked back to phase one. I'm here in Los Angeles, it is illegal to walk around without a mask on. And that's starting to happen more and more and more around the country. I feel very fortunate because a lot of my business has nothing to do with wearing a mask, not wearing a mask. I can make my living from my home. And that's one of the reasons, through the podcast, through the videos on YouTube, through the Academy, I've been trying to focus on educational content to get you guys to a point where you can do the same, that you're not dependent on going out and playing a venue this Friday night for you to make your rent payment or pay your car payment or your insurance payment or putting food on the table. And I'm going to continue to focus on that because, guys, I'm going to tell you, I think we got to strap in. I think we got to strap in because I don't think we've seen the end of this. I don't even know that we've seen the darkest corner of it yet. And I don't know what we're going to do here in a couple of months whenever these artists need more money and regular Joe Schmoes need more money. I think we need to stop focusing on the top and we need to start focusing on some of the people at the bottom, some of the people at the middle. The real people, the people that make this country go around, the people that keep these companies that are taking these huge bailouts and PPP loans, the real people that keep them in business. If those people don't have the money to support those businesses, the businesses won't be around, and you cannot count on the government for everything. So it's pretty interesting. I wanted to talk about this because I do want to go out there and I want to put on the record, I don't agree, and I don't think that any of these people's information should have been public. I don't. I don't believe that anything that you do like that, I don't think that their name should have been printed. I don't think the amount of money that they took should have been printed. I know that I got an email from my bank. I bank with a private bank. And I got an email from them as soon as all of this started happening, letting all of their members know that it was not their choice and they fought it. They did not want to release the information, but had no choice. And I don't agree with that. I think people's business should be able to be private up to a point. I don't think it's my business. I don't think it's your business. I don't think it's anybody else's business to be able to openly pry into other people's businesses to see what they're doing financially. Now, if you do something wrong, then absolutely open the books. But I don't think this was fair to Luke Combs or Tim McGraw or Rascal Flatts or Weezer or Kanye West or anybody else for this information to get published. But I'm anxious to hear what you think about it. I'd like to continue this conversation on Facebook, or you can go to the show notes section of my website and leave comments there. I'm interested to see what you guys think about this. Do you guys think it was right for all of these artists to get the PPP loan money? Do you think it was right for them to apply for it and take it? Do you think there should be more transparency on if they did get the money, where did it go? I would love to hear your thoughts. So go to thestevefreeman.com, click on the show notes section, and leave your thoughts on what you think. I would really like to hear about it. And I'm anxious to see what's going to go on over the next couple of months to see if another round of funding is going to be necessary. I know a lot of people are struggling right now, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better anytime soon. So we're in this thing together. We got to stick together. That's for sure. Guys, thank you for joining me for another episode of the Steve Freeman Podcast. Coming up this Friday, I have general manager of 1RPM, in my opinion, one of the best digital distribution companies on the face of the planet. Their general manager, Ken Madsen, will be joining me. We will talk music distribution, the ins and outs. I've got a list of questions to ask him that you guys have asked me about digital distribution. It's going to be a great show. That's coming up for you this Friday. Don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Please, Apple's algorithm, it makes all the difference in the world. Leave us 5 stars, leave us a written review. Tell us what you think about the podcast. It helps more than you ever know. Like I said before, if you want to take my free artist development masterclass, go to thestevefreeman.com and everything's right there. Don't forget to support our sponsors. They make all of this possible. I get so many emails and messages from you guys thanking me for doing this. But guys, it wouldn't be possible without our sponsors. So please check out Performance Inspired Nutrition at pi-nutrition.com, as well as the Artist Development Academy at artistdevelopmentacademy.com. I'm looking forward to being back home and the regular set for Friday's episode. So I will see you all then. Until then, keep being creative, keep pressing the boundaries, and there's nothing wrong with being independent. See you in the next episode.
Thanks for joining us for the Steve Freeman Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and follow Steve on social media at the Steve Freeman.